Hi, what's happening, guys? Welcome to the Pur'N'Kleen podcast, episode number 7. My name is Rommel, and today we're going to talk about supply chain management. Hey everybody, Rommel here. This episode will be the last episode about operations management in a while, and today we're going to cover how to manage your supply chain in Star Citizen. So what is a supply chain? A supply chain is a system of organizations, people, technology, activities, information, and resources involved in moving a product or service from suppliers to customers. So let's take the example of Star Citizen mining. A supply chain for mining might look like the following. You got your procurement or supply system, in which you have your raw material supply points, and you got to move those from your supply points to storage. You got your operating system, which is the sort of the manufacturing refining step, where you have your raw materials already in storage. You move them into manufacturing or refining. You do your process there, and then you transport them into finished goods storage. And then at the end of the supply chain, you have your sales or demand system, where you take your goods from the finished goods storage and you transport them to the customer, or you have the customer come to you and buy the finished goods from you. So what is supply chain management? Supply chain management is the management of the flow of the supply chain process to maximize supply chain surplus in a sustainable manner. So again, in Star Citizen mining, for example, supply chain flows might be raw ore or materials, products, money, information. All of those are the things that flow in your supply chain. And so that is what supply chain management does. It optimizes the flow of these things. And let's make a point about the last one, information. The best organizations will be the ones that can leverage information the best and use that to guide their supply chain. For example, you can use monetary compensation and contracts to try to elicit information on forecast or supply capabilities from your vendors and suppliers. You can also offer customers the ability to pre-order products and use that to get information on what products they want and where to put it. In a more concrete example, let's say you sell a particular turret, and half your pre-orders are from the Stanton system. It may behoove you to set up a warehouse in the Stanton system to save costs in delivering your orders to the Stanton system. Of course, you can also push information to the customers. And then here, think of like what Amazon does. When you search or buy a product, you may offer similar items to your customers based on your product availability. But remember, you can only do this effectively if you have the information of A, what your customers want, and B, what is in your supply chain already. Because, obviously it will be a very bad experience if you say, hey, we also have this, why don't you buy this? And, you don't actually have it. So a naive approach to supply chain management is to always overstock your products so that you can always meet demand. But there are costs associated with not matching supply and demand. If you overstock things, then you run the risks of liquidation, obsolescence, and holding just too much product. If you understock, however, then you will have lost sales and resulting lost margin. The right balance for each organization depends on what costs are associated for your particular product in your particular market, and also to a greater extent the cost that the Star Citizen developer gives to things like warehouse hangar fees, NPC salaries, insurance, taxes, and the like. In our Star Citizen mining example, I am inclined to believe that overstocking will almost always be a better option, But we'll have to wait and see what CIG actually does. Why is it so hard to manage supply and demand? It's because there are so many players in the supply chain. Consider the following example. Number one, CryAstro decides it needs 10 barrels of Pur'N'Kleen boost fuel per day. Pur'N'Kleen tells Starfarers to crank up production of boost fuel. These Starfarer pilots go and harvest the raw materials and take it to the closest refinery and tell them to start cranking the boost fuel. Refinery needs packing materials, so they order from another supplier for more metal containers for boost fuel. Pur'N'Kleen takes the finished goods from the refinery and delivers to CryAstro. As you can see, there are many players here with different goals and incentives. CryAstro has their goals and incentives. Pur'N'Kleen company has their goals and incentives. The individual Starfarer pilots have their goals and incentives. And the refinery people have their goals and incentives. So how do you align all these players so that when a customer gets to CryAstro fuel station, he can buy the Pur'N'Kleen boost fuel that he wants? How do you manage all of this uncertainty? In order to explain this, consider the Murray Cup racing. When would you want to place your bet on the winner of the Murray Cup? Is it A, a month before the start of the Murray Cup? Is it B, the Monday before the start of the Murray Cup? Is it C, the morning of the Murray Cup? Or is it D, the winner is a meter from the finish line? Well, obviously, you will choose D, the winner is a meter from the finish line. Producing a unit of Pur'N'Kleen boost fuel is just like placing a bet, because you are betting that some customer will be willing to pay full price by the time you deliver the product. If you have that in mind, you can then understand that what we want to do is reduce the time from the moment that you place the bet to the moment that this customer comes. If we do this, we have reduced uncertainty on market climate, on what competitors are doing, on fuel prices, and on many other different elements. So then the question becomes, how can we reduce this time? The time could be spent under operations manufacturing or under buffers, like say waiting on the shelves. Even with the most efficient firms, most of the time will be spent on a shelf. Imagine a situation where you have a product that has a demand of 1 unit per day. So once a day, your customer comes and demands this product. If you have only 1 item on the shelf, then it will take 1 day to sell it. If you have 100 items on the shelf, it will take 100 days to sell them. You can see that it's easy to predict demand when we have only 1 product. The implication that I'm making here is that we need to carry less inventory because less inventory means less time, and less time means less uncertainty. This is why Pur'N'Kleen only carries 3 core products. Why carry inventory then? So if we just said the implication is to have less inventory, then why do Star Citizen organizations try to do everything at once? Many Star Citizen organizations try to produce all kinds of products and services, recruiting members blindly, some even ballooning to the thousands of members. This will surely lead to a large inefficient inventory, so why hold this much inventory? Well, one option could be they don't know what they're doing. They could be, test squadron who they're just there to have fun and they don't know what they're doing and they have very loose grasp on business knowledge. It could be due to economies of scale. Once you get a lot of members, there are some fixed costs associated with large memberships. You can share hangars, you can share ships, and you can even do discounts among members in organization branches. It could be due to the uncertainty risk. There is a lot of information uncertainty from the Star Citizen developer. we don't know, there's supply demand uncertainty from the player base itself on particular game mechanic, right? We don't know if, the fuel system or the mining system will actually be fun. And if it's not fun, then maybe not a lot of players will do it, which means, the supply and demand of that particular, mechanic will shift. It could also be due to seasonal variability. They could be guarding against player exhaustion. You get tired of doing the same thing over and over, go do something else. Or they could be creating inventory and then just stockpiling it for when the product is in season or in demand. And lastly, there's strategic reasons, which, there could be a catastrophe, there could be vandal incursions, there could be high or low availability for certain product or service, so they're preparing themselves for that, or they're positioning their organization in such a way that they will block other organizations from, delivering their own goods and services. So the one I'm going to touch on this video is uncertainty. How do you reduce your uncertainty stock? Well, one way you can reduce your uncertainty stock is to reduce the demand risk by improving your forecast. And you can do this by buying information from information brokers, in other words, heralds, or, based on what the market is doing. Or you can also, do something more illegal, like have spies in other organizations. You can reduce your supply risk by utilizing multi-sourcing. You can use multiple vendors for the same product so that if one supplier or player fails, you can replenish from the others. You can reduce lead time by doing onshoring. Onshoring is when you bring your plant or manufacturing to where the demand is. And again, this ties back to what we said about information. If you have the information, then you can do this. But if you don't, then you will be behind. And inventory pooling is the last one, where you can have centralized inventory. And again, think of Amazon. Right, you don't have to carry a particular book or a particular gizmo in every branch of your store. If you have a large central inventory, you can support the entire demand from a single place and ship it to the customer when it's needed. So I hope this video helped you understanding how to manage your supply chain in Star Citizen. This concludes the series of episodes on operations management. I really hope they will help you in thinking about how to manage your Star Citizen organization. And if you are one of those people that actually sat through all of my videos, I would like to thank you sincerely. Per viewer feedback, I will try to include more direct Star Citizen examples in future episodes. The next episode will cover how I would structure a mining organization in Star Citizen, followed by episodes on how to manage the mining process itself, and then one or possibly a series of videos about the business side of racing in Star Citizen. The Pur'N'Kleen podcast is a free Star Citizen podcast aimed at tackling the business side of the verse. It is available every Monday, but you can also get it in written format by signing up for the newsletter in the show notes. Don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Last but not least, if you are looking for a business-oriented organization, please do check us out at pur'n'kleen.com.